Here we go. All right. So welcome once again. This is Joe Bullish, your clinical coach for MELS 601. It is March the 24th, 2022. We are quickly approaching the end of the semester. As we get to, I love that, Jennifer. No, that's okay. I love that. As we get to we're going to need to make sure that you stay on track to finish all of your ABSL tasks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't forget about what we're going to talk about tonight is your competency folio. We've kind of gone over all of that. Let me just go ahead and start off here. What questions do you have about the ABSL, about your internship hours, about submitting to TaskStream as we start winding down the semester? You really had spring break to work on it. Really need to get wrapping up here pretty soon on your ABSL task. I've got not just you, I've got 3 cohorts. I've got 601, 602, and 605. And I tell you, if you are really feel like you're spinning plates and feel like you're behind the 8 ball, you are not alone. It is a busy time for everybody. I've gotten more emails this semester than I can remember in a long time, even during COVID. That I can remember in a long time of just challenges that just popped up on people just from out of nowhere, and really causing some people to dig down deep. As always, Gardner Webb understands that. They helped me out when I was going through the program with some things coming on in my life. Gardner Webb understands life happens. I think I may have told you when I was getting my master's, I was coaching 3 sports and had 2 children and 1 on the way. And wow, it was a challenging time, but Gardner Webb understands that. So if you're going through some challenges, if you really feel a little anxious about wrapping up and getting everything done, reach out to me. I've already got some emails. I responded to emails with some of you. But if you kind of in the next couple of weeks, if you really struggling with getting all the way through those ABSL tasks, let's talk. Let's meet and let's just kind of see where you're at. Once you get the ABSL done, the competency folio will flow quickly. It's just a matter, as I told you, pulling those artifacts out and dropping them in your competency folio. So what questions do you have for me tonight?
So on my action plan for 4, that we're at the end of the year. So putting an action plan in place at this point in the year, we're adopting a new reading program. I'm kind of writing it in a future tense. Do I need to say on there, because it's the end of the year, my short-term goal is to do this, and then long-term goals, can those go into the next school year? Like, is that appropriate to say it that way since it's, April and right before EOGs?
Absolutely, Jennifer. The whole premise of this action plan is that, you're not graded on whether it gets implemented or not. You're just graded on completing it and understanding that if it doesn't get implemented or it runs from one year to the next, well, that's just part of administration. It doesn't have to be for this year only, for this semester only. The principal implements it and your goals end on June 30th. No, absolutely not. It is understood that just goes on past that. If it doesn't even get implemented, no big deal. You did the plan, you made your goals there. It doesn't have to be locked into any time frame, and it has to be based on this year's data to meet this year's need. Certainly, but if it doesn't get implemented or it spills over into next year, that's certainly understandable. A good question.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And just to kind of piggyback off that too, in my particular one, I'm working with like the freshmores, I call them, like the repeating freshmen. And obviously that's going to be a problem next year as well. So kind of like Jennifer was saying, can mine be like me devising a plan that I'm going to like implement to start next year to get ahead of the game And you might have just answered that. I just want some clarification.
No, that's a good question too. And yeah, absolutely. If the need that you identified the end of this semester is going to be a need that's still going to be prevalent the beginning of next semester. And that's what we're all doing right now, is running those diagnostic assessments and trying to determine how much learning loss has occurred, or how wide that gap is. And what we
Right.
don't address now, we're going to have to hit hard next year. So yeah, that's certainly very timely and certainly come into play, Ben. Yeah, good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anything else? Any questions that you have at this point in time? I'm going to bring up task stream on my share. See, I believe I'm here right now. Let me move your windows over. I don't like, they do this to me all the time. Okay, here we go. I don't like this. I wish you could just click, you could just click on task stream and the task stream would come up and you wouldn't have to jump through all these hoops to get to it. So, but anyway, that's beside the point. All right, so everybody feel good about where to submit your APSL? You know where to submit your APSL when you get it done, the DRF. Remember, the DRF is where you submit the APSL. It'll look like this. For 601, this is where you'll submit all your evidences each semester. Not only do you have to do the APSL, but you have to do the competency analysis and the school ed disposition. The main priority, as I told you last time, is APSL is the main priority, because you really can't do the rest of these things until you get that APSL done, because you're going to be reflecting, pulling from that APSL to answer and complete any of the remaining requirements. And we'll get into that a little bit right now. The competency analysis, you would click on this. You got your APSL submitted. Doesn't have to be evaluated. Just has to be submitted. Once you get it submitted, you can go ahead and start working on other things. You don't, some in the past, some candidates have thought, well, I've got to wait till I get it, got an evaluation grade back before I can move on. No, you don't. Main priority is getting that APSL done and getting it submitted for evaluation. And while you're waiting to hear back, and sometimes if you get it in the next couple, 3 weeks, I'd say you're probably in good shape to get a 24-hour response. If you kind of push it all back to the later in the semester, it might take a little bit longer. But while you're waiting, go ahead and do these other things. The competency analysis and the school ed disposition really won't take that long to complete. It's just you reflecting on who you are as a leader right now, based on what you've experienced and what you've learned this semester. The competency analysis, you just click on complete this form. And these are the 21 competencies that you're dealing with. These are the 21 competencies that you're going to be reflecting on in task 5 in the APSL. Or, well, you're not going to reflect on 21 of them. You're going to reflect on 9 and then 4 that you select. But these are the same 21 competencies that you'll be dealing with throughout the program. And what this is asking you to do is take a look at each competency. We can start with change management. They're not in the same order as they are in the competency folio and listed in your scale handbook, I don't believe. But this is change management. And how do you show evidence of leadership competency and change management? Well, do you demonstrate an awareness of the staff and community's role in the change process? And do you do this? And do you do that? And do you do that? Now, do you feel like after you've gone through the APSL, after, as you're finishing up your internship hours, but mainly as you've gone through the APSL, do you feel like you've met this competency at this point in time or not met? And that's totally up to you. You won't get graded on the ones you click met on and the ones you click not met on. Actually, some of these you're going to put not met because you haven't even engaged or reflected on them yet. And that's okay. You just get checked off that you've completed this competency analysis, not how many you've clicked met on, and how many you've clicked not met. Now, and this is an old version. I think in your version, there's either going to be room for comments here. And in the comment section, if you want to pull from your task 5 reflections to demonstrate why you think you've met this, and there's, like I said, there's 12 of those that you're going to reflect on. If you want to copy and paste what you wrote in your reflection, certainly appropriate here. Like I said, this is an old version. I think the new version, they do have a comment section here, but you just click met or not met. And this is just a reflection on, with these competencies, where do you feel like you're at now? You'll do this again in 603 and 605. I'm sorry, and you'll do this again in 605. The school ed disposition you'll do in 3 and 5, but you'll do this in 605. So where are you at right now? And then when you get to 605, where do you think you will be then? And the whole point is showing growth in your self-reflection. So once you upload the APSL, you go to competency analysis, you can complete this, and you just go through and check met and not met. And if those comment sections are there, you can pull it, copy and paste. You don't have to write anything new. It could just be a copy and paste from your task 5 in the APSL. And you just fill this self-assessment out. Some of these you'll feel like you've met, some of these you'll feel like you've not met. And this comes a little more into play in the School of Ed dispositions, but not where you're at as a teacher. Where are you at as an administrator? Don't reflect on, well, communication. I'm great communication in the classroom with my students, with my parents. As an administrator, where do you feel like you're at right now? Any questions on the competency analysis?
I'm sorry, I always have questions.
Good.
On here it says, from what I see, it says identify whether level 1 is met or not met. So you just have to look at the first level, like for creative thinking there, evidence that demonstrates candidates' ability to think creatively. I would only be judging myself on that, or everything as a whole.
Well, no, just level 1. I always tell my candidates to look through all of them and kind of see where they're at, because the more you get familiar with all these little tenets, the better off you'll be, and the better you can judge it where you're at. But these are the 21 school executive standards that you'll be evaluated on the principal. So you get used to them and get used to everything that contained in them now, the better off you'll be. But yeah, I always tell my candidate to look at it as a whole and kind of get a picture of where you're at as a whole. But
okay,
if you want to, this is really a tool for you and no one else. If you want to just say, okay, I'm gonna hold myself to level 1, absolutely, no problem. Like I said, nobody's going to go through and say, okay, Joe, he clicked on 5 mets and the rest of them are not met. Okay, we're going to grade them on that. They just want to see that you went through that process of reflection for all these competencies. Great questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly, Jennifer. Thank you. Anything else on this? This could take as little or as long as you need for it to, for you. So like I said, you really can't engage it unless you've gone through the APSL and really looked at all of that. So once you get the competency analysis, now let's look at the School of Ed dispositions. The School of Ed dispositions are going to be a little bit different in that, where are you at in your dispositions towards leadership? And it's not engage in the 21 competencies. These are a little bit different, the scale is a little bit different as well on learner development, learner differences, learning environment, content knowledge, application of content, assessment, planning for instruction. This is to help you gauge where you're at beyond those 21st leadership competencies and more into an administrator as being an instructional leader. You could answer these as a teacher. All of you are high-flying teachers or you wouldn't be in the program. So if you look at this from a teacher lens, then you're probably going to meet expectations or exceeds expectations on every one of them. But I'm asking you to look at it from an administrative lens, from an instructional leader. Now, if you're an instructional specialist, or department chair, you know, you could very well be looking at it from that administrative lens already, but just challenge yourself to say, okay, as a principal, as an administrator, where do I feel like I'm at in each of these areas? On the whole school, not just my department, not just my classroom, not just my grade level, but as a principal of a school, an instructional leader, where do I feel like I'm at? The comments section is here. It's like the comment section on the other. It's not necessary. It's just it's not mandatory that you fill that out, just if you want to for your own sake. But this is a reflection once again on where you feel like you're at dispositionally in being a school leader and being an instructional leader. And you'll see there's tenets below this as well. Any questions on this? And once again, you don't get graded for how many you click on that meets expectations or exceeds expectation. The requirement is that you just complete this self-assessment. There's no grading on meeting the expectations or exceeding expectations. It's just that you completed it. You can think of the APSL and the competency folio as the proficiency end of this, like we pull, like we pull student achievement on proficiency. You can think of the competency analysis and the school ed disposition as where you show growth. APSL, each of the evidences for each semester and your internship hours and your competency, you're showing proficiency. Here, in doing the competency analysis and the school ed dispositions incrementally through the program, you're showing that you're growing as a leader. That's kind of the way I frame it up for candidates. So that way Gardner-Webb's pulling that data of proficiency and growth from you, showing the whole person holistically, how have you grown and how have you met the expectations of the program. So any questions on school ed dispositions?
Do you, I don't have a question about that, but once you're done with this, can you go back over turning in the APSLs to TaskStream?
Yeah.
Like, do you mind redoing that really quickly?
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Before we leave that, and I'll be happy to do that, any questions on the school ed dispositions and how to complete that? It's just a matter of clicking and hitting submit. So once you get the APSL done, and I tell you, and I'll go through that process again here in just a minute, I will tell you, once you turn the final evidence narrative in, the very last piece where it's the document as a whole, title page, school profile, task 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, reference page, appendix, all together, one document. That's the APSL final evidence narrative. Once I take that final look at it, I will say ready for TaskStream. When I say ready for TaskStream, you take that APSL final evidence narrative, that complete document, and you drop it right here. Once you drop it right there, while you're waiting on it to be evaluated, you do your competency analysis and your school ed dispositions, and you can work on your competency folio. But before we do that, let's go back to going through that APSL task for review, APSL evaluation Dropbox process. Now you should be looking on my Blackboard internship shell. Is everybody seeing that?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes Zoom kind of leaves you hanging there, but you should be looking at my Blackboard. So you've got these two sections, APSL task for review and APSL evaluation Dropbox. This is where I collect the grades, but before I collect the grades, I want to go through and review it and give you feedback and give you a chance to revise it. Just like you handing out a paper or an assignment to a student and you say, okay, before I collect a grade, let's look at it. Okay, well, you need to make these changes. Well, you need to adjust it here. Well, what about this? Did you think about this? Is there a way you can say this better? Or did you really attack the problem here? Okay, so you see where you could improve this. Well, before I take a grade and put it into Power School, you go back and I'm going to give you a chance to revise it. You revise it and you turn it back in, and then I'll grade it, and then that's what we'll put into Power School. This is kind of that process. It's just kind of a way of refining your paper before I collect a grade on it. That way we can show the process of you improving and working and formative feedback rather than summative feedback. And that's why we do that. So you get your Absol task for review, whichever it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You upload your task here. I'll read it, give you feedback. I may say, hey, looks great, no suggestions, let's take a grade on it. Or I may say, this is my feedback. This is what I suggest. This is where I think you need to mesh up with the rubric a little bit more. So I'm going to give you some feedback. Okay, now go and revise it. And once you took a look at my once you take a look at my feedback and you made those revisions, send it back to me again in the same discussion thread. I'll look at it again for a final review. You do that, you bring it back to me. I'll look at it again. I say, hey, great. I don't have any more suggestions for improvement. Now take that task and let's grade it. To take that task and grade it, I'll say something like ready for Absol evaluation Dropbox. So you take that task then and you upload it here to the evaluation Dropbox. I take one more look at it just to be sure, and then I collect a grade on that, and it's going to be 100, because my whole goal of this is to give you the feedback up front before any grade or evaluation is done, and we do it in baby steps. We kind of compartmentalize task one, each of the tasks, task 1, task 2, task 3. We get all those in good shape, and then we move on to the next task. A lot of times candidates will, upload task 1, 2, and 3 all at the same time. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Let's go through task 1 and look at it and revise it first. And let me give you feedback on that, because some of the feedback I give you may cause you to rethink some of the things that you wrote in task 2 and task 3. So we don't want to go ahead and give you feedback on all that. Let's get task 1 at 100 level. And is there anything that you changed in task 1 to get it up to 100 that's going to make you make changes to your task 2, so on and so forth? So that's why I say, well, let's get task 1 out of the way before we worry about task 2. Let's get task 2 out of the way before we worry about task 3. So we do all our review and revision at Absol Task for Review. When it's ready to be graded, regardless of the task, I will say upload to the evaluation, to the Absol evaluation Dropbox. At that point, you take that same document, that same draft, you click on the evaluation Dropbox, and you upload it there for grading. We do that all the way through task 5. At the end of task 5, once it's in great shape, you got all those competency reflections done, and you've addressed the Absol, your clinical experiences, the content that you've learned in courses. Once you've addressed all that and it's got a grade, I'm going to say, okay, ready to take this and compile it into one document for the Absol final evidence narrative. So that's when you take it, and if you've kind of kept it that way at the beginning, no problem. You remove, if you're using a template, you remove all that junk, all that red font, all that yellow highlights, all that suggestions and stuff. You can leave the description, the instructions, and the prompts in there, but all that other stuff, get rid of it. And you have your title page, your school profile, all of the tasks 1 through 5, your reference page that references any citation from each task, and then any appendix where you upload your artifacts. And that is one complete document. You now have the Absol. I ask you to submit it to the final evidence narrative to kind of let me take one more look at it. I know I'm anal about this. I know I'm obsessive about this, but this is going to get you proficiency or higher and not have to do any revisions during week 14 and 15 at the end of the semester. That's why I'm so anal about looking at it over and over and over and over again to make sure that it's in good shape. So I'll look at it one more time as a complete document, make sure it's in good shape. I'll grade you, and at that point I'll say ready for task stream. And when I say ready for task stream, in the comment section of the Absol final evidence narrative, you are done with the Absol. You take that, you go over to task stream, you go to your DRF, and you upload it right there, and you're done. Is that good? Do I need to go over that again, or are there any questions or clarification needed?
No, that's good. That's perfect. Sorry, I have one more question. I feel like I'm asking everything.
No, don't worry about
Um,
it.
so at like our final narrative, right? So when we combine everything, do we need to separate that like task, or do we just like copy task 2 right after task 1, or do we need any kind of break in it or any kind of labeling like task 1, 2, 3? How do you want? How
Yeah,
do you?
that's a great question. Sometimes some people like to see that. I don't, but with the template, a lot of the evaluators like to see the instructions, the description, the task 1, the task 1 prompts, and then your narrative, and then the task 2 description, and the task 2 instructions, and the task 2 and prompts, and then your narrative. Some evaluators like that. Me, but I have an advantage over the evaluator because I've read it so many times. I know where where everything's at. So I will leave that up to you. If you go by the template that's in in the Blackboard shell, and I'm sure it's in Dr. Church's course shell as well. If you go by the APSL final evidence template, it shows that all that's in there. So you can do that. If you don't want to do it because you want it to look, this is document that you're going to look. If you're, and the reason I say that, if you're showing this document to your principal, or if you're using this plan in the future when you become a principal, or maybe even do a board presentation, they're not going to care about the instructions to the APSL. They just want to see that content, the narrative that you did. So that's why I say that. But I'm okay with it either way. But the template does say, it does have those breaks in there and those identifiers in there. Some evaluators really like to see that. I'll leave it at that. It's a great question. I'm sorry I didn't give you a great answer, but
That's all right.
All right. Any other questions on any of that? Okay, so we've got the APSL completed. It's sitting there in the DRF waiting to be evaluated. You've done your competency analysis. You've done that self-assessment on where you're at as a leader right now with those 21 competencies. Now, remember, when you reflect in task 5, you're only going to reflect on a small, you're not reflecting on all the competencies. When you do your artifacts and the competency folio, you're not going to be dealing with all the competencies. But the competency analysis does ask you to reflect on where you're at on all 21 competencies. So there's going to be some of them not met because you just haven't had the opportunity to engage them yet in the program through your work and evidence and contents and internships and experiences. So with all that being said, you do the School of Ed dispositions, you complete that. And while you're doing that, or after you get done with that, it's up to you. But at some point in time, you need to go up here and click on folios and web pages and bring up your competency folio. Everybody knows how to complete their competency folio, how to create their competency folio. Any questions on that? If you're watching the recording later and you haven't created your competency folio yet, you can go over to my Blackboard shell. You can open up, wow, my mind just went blank. Thank you. Video library. You can open up video library, and this very first video here will tell you how to set up your competency folio. If you haven't done that yet and you're watching the recording. If you have any questions or need any help with that, get in touch with me and I'll help you through that. This is a quick 2-minute video that shows you how to set your competency folio up. And also, if you'll remember, in templates and resources, I actually do show an exemplary competency folio. Thanks to one of our great candidates, we also have a tracking sheet that'll help you make sure that you click off each of the artifacts for each competency and you got everything covered. You can utilize that. You can look at this exemplar of what a competency folio, how it was created and fancied up, is what we say here in Wilkes County, fancied up by another candidate and kind of put all the bells and whistles in it. You can take a look at that. All right. So at some point in time, you'll get back here to task stream and you will have created your competency folio. And what you need to do is you need to go through, and each competency that deals with the ABSL, you need to upload an artifact from your ABSL, pulling it from there. Communication between you and your PLC team on setting up the PLC meeting, communication between you and the principal on getting permission to set up a PLC. What have you done? Now, you don't pull from your narrative. It's not, don't tell us what you've done, show us what you've done through submitting an artifact. If you do need to include a little bit of a description, if it's just a picture in front of you in front of some people talking, well, you might want to include a little text box that says, this is my first PLC meeting, or what have you, just kind of explain the picture or the clip or whatever. I do ask that whatever you upload, you identify it as belonging to the ABSL, because for each competency at the end of the program, you're going to upload 3 evidences for each of these 21 competencies. If you don't identify them and save them with ABSL in the title, it can get real confusing. Not confusing now because you're in 601 and you've only done the ABSL. So anything going in here is going to be coming from the ABSL. But you're in 604, and if I'm a clinical coach and I'm sitting at 604 and I'm looking through your competency folio and I see 3 evidences here that's not identified, and I look through it and there's no identification in the picture or the clip or the screenshot, then I'm wondering, well, which one's for the ABSL, which one's for the PSYOP, which one is the open-ended. So I always save it with the name of the evidence in the title. Okay, like ABSL screenshot, ABSL video. All right, so that way the person looking at it will know that you mean for this artifact to be associated with this evidence. So, and that's each competencies ask you to do that from particular evidences. So right now you've only done one evidence, and that's the ABSL. So you need to go through here and look at all the competencies that is asking for an artifact from the ABSL. Some won't be asking from the ABSL. You won't, in customer focus, you'll need to complete the OMA and the SCIP before you can upload an artifact from that as far as evidence goes. But if you'll notice, every competency has a wild card, and the wild card is called open-ended. Does it have to be from an evidence? It can be from something you did for your internship hours. It could be something you did for the content or an assignment from class that shows evidence of environmental awareness. It's a wild card. So anything that you've done within the scope of the program, you can upload it to show off, that this is a really good example. I didn't do it for the CAP and I didn't do it for the PSYOP, but I really did something good for environmental awareness outside of the program that I want to show off. We'll upload it here. That's what those open-ended's for. Later on, if you use this competency folio as part of some information you send to someone that might be interviewing you, you're going to want to show off on your skills, and this is opportunity to do those things that may have occurred outside the program. So as I said, each competency is going to ask for at least 3 evidences. Can you submit more? Yes, you can. The requirement is at least 3, but you can put more in there if you want to. I've seen some candidates put as many as 5 or 6 in there just because they felt like they really had some good artifacts they wanted to show off, and use this as a hiring interview tool later on. So not every, like I said, not every, right now, you don't need to worry about the competencies that does not list the ABSL here. Once again, if you kind of want to see that all together, go to templates and resources. And I'm hoping this will come up. Let me know if it doesn't, but you should be, oh yeah, it came up on my other monitor. Hold on just a minute, I'm gonna drag it over. Do you see the spreadsheet that I just drug over? No?
No.
All right, hold on just
There.
Okay, it's being persnickety on me here. All right,
So I have a quick question, Dr.
Yeah.
Mells.
Sure.
So the expectation for us is to for the task stream is to upload just for the Absol, because that's all we've done thus far. For
Yes.
all of them that have Absol in their tab.
Yep, that's exactly right. Good question. And you should be looking at the competency folio record sheet. Can you see that now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So here's the 21 competencies that's listed in your competency folio, from communication all the way to visionary. And one of the candidates kind of said, okay, for communication, artifact 1 needs to be from the Absol. Artifact 2 from the PSYOP, and artifact 3 is open-ended. If you'll notice, they're all open here, and then maybe notes for you to keep up with it. So in communication, if you go through here and you click on all the ones that have Absol, and this is correlated to your competency folio. There you go. I knew there was a couple more. So if you go through and you say, okay, so what do I need to really mess with for 601? Well, communication, change management, conflict management, creative thinking, organizational ability, personal responsibility for performance, systems thinking, and time management. So those are the ones that you need to upload artifacts for this semester. Those are the only ones dealing with the Absol. If you'll notice, there's none out here. You're going to hit the Absol first. So each competency, this is a great little document for you to kind of keep up with that. As you upload one, highlight it. That way you'll know, and keep this for you all the way through the program, because this will take you all the way to 605. When you do the APTL later on and you upload that, you can highlight that and highlight that. And this will help you keep track of what I have in my competency folio that I've uploaded and what I still need to upload. And that is in templates and resources. I'm going to close that out, not save it. Okay, let me go back to my share. Where am I at? There I am. All right, so, and that is located in templates and resources at the very bottom, and that will help you keep track of this right here. You should be looking at the competency folio again, because it's a little bit hard to go through here and click and then look at the title here and say, okay, OMA SIP, okay, OMA CAP. So that'll help keep track of it. So you, the ones we clicked on, I think there's 9 of them actually. Of these 21 competencies, 9 of them are asking for artifacts that deal with the Absol. So you go through and you upload those, making sure that you save them and in the title, so it's easy to identify where that artifact came from. If you feel like you need to do a description, you don't have to write a paragraph. It doesn't have to be anything intricate or very detailed, just whatever you feel is necessary to describe that artifact. So you do that for each one dealing with the Absol. And as you don't have to do anything with digital learning competencies. That's embedded into the program. If you do the Absol and all the other evidences, you'll be accomplishing these digital learning competencies by default. This is just a FYI. You don't need to do anything with this. At one time you did, but you don't need to do it anymore. That's at the very beginning of it, when we transition to the way we're doing things now. You don't have to mess with digital learning competencies. The only thing else you need to upload is your internship log. When you get those 80 hours completed for this semester, you will upload your internship log here as well. Now, once you start uploading artifacts, you want me to take a look at them. You upload the artifacts for all 9 of these and your internship log. You can do it one at a time. You can do them all at a time. As far as the ones that you've uploaded things to, I will look at it either way. But once you put something in here that you wanted me to see, whether it's a bunch or a little, you go over here and request comments. Do not click publish or share. Publish or share means that you are putting it out there like you're sharing a photo from your iPhone. You took a picture from your iPhone and you want to share that with somebody, so you publish it and send it out to them. That's not going to get you any comments from me as far as feedback goes. That's just going to let the person pull up your web page and see your web page. It's like you're putting it out there for public display. That's what you would use if you're like got it all completed and you're ready to send it out there to show off to your principal or somebody you're interviewing with. That's when you do publish share. Don't do that now. To request comments for feedback and for the program, you click on request comments. You go here and then you only click on the ones that you have artifacts into. So if I've done communication, if I've done all the ABSLs, then I'm going to click on the ones that I have uploaded artifacts. I am not going to request comments on all areas. If you request comments on all areas, then I am going to have to go in and look at each one, whether there's an artifact in there or not. That is very time consuming, and it takes time away from me helping others. So please do not use that button there. I have requested that that button be removed, but they won't listen to me because I'm not important enough. But please, if you will, do not click that, and do not click MELS competency folio. Click the competencies that you have uploaded artifacts into, because once you do that and you click continue and you find my name and you click my name and you click continue, then it's going to send me an email that says this person has requested comments on these areas. If I don't go in and look at each of those areas, it continually sends me emails telling me you need to review this, you need to review this, you need to review this. So if you go in here and hit request comments and you select this, I'm going to get a bunch of emails for competencies that you haven't even messed with because you haven't put an artifact in there. Does that make sense? If you do it, it's okay. I'll be mad at you for maybe a half of a second, then I'll get over it, because that happens every semester. So if you do it, it's all right. I'm not going to get my blood pressure too much out of whack. I understand, it's easy to do. So I'm not going to get mad at you, or you'll never know it. No, I'm just joking. But anyway, it's okay if it happens, because it happens every semester. But just try to remember, as you upload an artifact, you only want to ask comments or request comments for the competencies that you've actually uploaded an artifact to. All right, so you click continue, you find my name. If you don't see my name here, contact me, because we need to make sure that you're enrolled in my section, so to speak, to where my name will populate for you and you'll see it. So you just click on my name, click continue. I'm not going to do it because then I'm going to get an email reminding myself to look at my own competency folio. But if you have any questions on that, or you run into any roadblocks or challenges on that, let me know. So any questions on the competency folio?
I know that you said that each task, like the APSL, lines up with these competencies. I'm a little apprehensive because for my internship, obviously I'm only right now able to go during my planning time, and I kind of get to see things or do things only when something's going on. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I'm wondering if anyone else, I know that some of you are APs and you don't, you are already doing some things, but is anyone else kind of having that stress of trying to figure out what you're going to do for your internship?
Yes. Yes.
I
agree
keep doing
with
the
you.
same things over and over. I feel like attending IP meetings. I mean, which is a good thing, and I need that experience. I try to go to different types of them, but I'm starting to get a little nervous.
Great. I understand that happens every semester, and some people kind of get locked into that. Principal says, well, oh, you need some internship hours? Well, you're going to do bus duty in the morning and in the evenings, for the rest of the semester. So you're struggling for things to find. I do want to go back to one of the things you said, as far as these competency goes, that's going to come from your evidence in the ABSL. You're going to pull that stuff from there. Where your internship hours, that's the 80 hours that you're looking for. If you're struggling with that, you can attend a board meeting. You can review a board meeting virtually. You can count those hours. I've had candidates do that. I've had candidates review policies in their policies on their web pages. Do that. Let me see. I'm going to see if I can pull up.
And Sonia, I didn't mean to talk over you. We just, Sonia and I are in the same group, and we've been
Okay.
talking about it because she's at an alternative school and I'm just at a really big school and it's just a lot of discipline stuff. It's the same thing over and over. So these are good ideas that you're giving us.
Oh, well, good. Let me oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. In my Blackboard shell, under handbooks, clinical internship handbook, and this is 2021, 2022. And are you guys seeing that now?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I may pull it out and just put it as a whole document. But there, let's see, there should be some examples in here of some things that you could do. Oh, here we go. Leadership opportunities. Here's some examples for you to do. And I get it, Jennifer, you're doing it within your planning time. Well, create some of these on your own. Or volunteer at the next meeting or something to address a large group, conduct a parent group meeting, interview a teacher, oh man, people at central office love for you to, they might not act like it, but everybody at central services wants to tell you how hard they work because people in the schools don't think we do anything. So you give us a chance to share what we do, we love it. Doesn't have to be eyeball to eyeball. It could be a phone interview. It could be an email interview. It could be a Zoom interview. But, interview the director of finance, interview the testing and accountability director. That's really good information. Doesn't have to be a long interview, but that's good as well. But anyway, getting back to this handbook, it really gives you a lot of ideas to where you can pull from to get those internship hours. Here's something specifically dealing, especially when we're going through the pandemic. A lot of candidates were panicking because we're not in school, we're not meeting, everybody's remote. So how can we get our internship hours? So we created this, during remote learning, some things, which even though you may not be in remote learning, there's really still some good suggestions here for you to do. So look through those and see if any of that will help, because there are some good suggestions. If you're still struggling after that, reach out to me and we'll come up with a few ideas. I've gotten pretty creative with some candidates in the past on getting their internship hours in.
I think I was locked into this sheet, to be honest with you, and I didn't realize that I could be more creative. So
Okay,
that helped a lot. Thank you.
Okay, great. I'm glad you said that. If I'd known that you'd already reviewed that, I wouldn't have messed with you. But yeah.
No, you added a lot to it. No, I
Okay,
appreciate
good.
you doing that. I didn't mean it like that.
Okay, good. Well, okay, I didn't get my feelings hurt. I can, I'm thick skinned. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
I'm just
And
joking.
and just for a second, if you didn't, I'll never know it, right?
Yeah, you'll never know. You never know. But yeah, even if you come up with something and say, hey, I wonder if this will work, shoot me an email and I'll let you know. We'll make sure you get your 80 in. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Any other questions that I can help you with? Wow, I can't believe it's 7:50. Boy, this hour has flown by. It's been awesome. Great class as far as your questions were right on the mark, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to stop share. Let me check and make sure. Okay, I was just looking at some of the chat here, or at the chat. So yeah, you don't have to if it's not going to involve you coming out of the classroom or you forsaking any other duties, you can create your own opportunities within the school and outside of the school. Even if talk to your church and tell them, you want to tell them about how good your school is. I've had a candidate do that. They went and did a presentation at I seemed like it was a church. It might have been at a community center or something. And they talked about their school and just kind of gave a presentation on their school, and it worked out great. They didn't necessarily they just let the principal know that they were doing it. Didn't even really get permission. They didn't divulge any FERPA violation or anything. They just talked about stuff that was basically on the webpage of the school and got a couple hours in that way. So yeah, we can think of some things. All right. Any other questions or comments? That is a beautiful baby, Carly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anything else we can do for the good of the cause? All right, so let's get those APSLs rolling in, those tasks rolling in. If you need help, if you're struggling, reach out to me. We can do an individual Zoom. We can talk on the phone. You know, my job is to help you be successful. So if I'm not doing that, if I'm not helping you, then I'm not doing my job, and that really bugs me. So make sure that you're in good shape and that you feel good about getting it done. If you didn't attend the session, but you're watching this recording, same thing. Reach out to me if you need some help. Anything else for the good of the cause? Well, I hope and pray you and your family stay safe and healthy. You guys take care of yourself, take care of your family. There's a whole lot more important things out there than there's a whole lot more important things out there than Gardner Webb. And they probably, you know, I'm sure they would agree if they heard that. You take care of yourself and your family, but we'll get this done. Let us know if we can help you. God bless you all. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
You too, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.